How are you, Harold?
Oh, I'm good. Good. What's happening with you?
Wow.
Who are you rooting for in the soccer?
I was rooting for the U.S.
Yeah, but
Now it's
Argentina,
I don't know who I'm rooting for. I prefer Argentina today for sure. I was rooting for
Oh
Argentina,
yeah,
not
I guess
Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah. Hi
Yeah,
guys.
I got nervous there for a while. Wow.
Yeah. It was a good game though. Did you
You
watch
know
the sec-
what?
Did you watch the second game?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a good
Wow.
game too. And those guys,
Yes
those
and
two,
no. It was a good game, but it was a little bit boring because there was no scoring.
right? Well, that's what a good game is. But Harold,
Yeah.
those two like Colombian guys, if I was them, I would run for my lives. They're not going back. The guys who missed those penalties.
Oh my God. Off with their
It
head.
happened to a guy from Colombia before
No, he
something.
skipped the
Yeah, a
rope.
few years ago. Yeah.
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 Just picked a goal for the other team.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
But this Messi came through. Wow.
Of the old guys, he seems to be the one with the most.
Yeah. How old is he?
36.
And he's old? Uh-oh.
By the standards of soccer, yes.
Yeah, I think so. All that running. Oh my God.
That's the thing that is amazing with him
What's
is
that?
if you look at his leg power, it's incredible. I mean, he shoots the ball from
Yeah.
way outside. From
Well, all these guys, when they kick it, they're kicking it like, 60, 70 yards.
some
Crazy.
of them, but not with the accuracy that this guy has.
Oh,
And he kicks with a tremendous amount of power.
yeah.
So it's interesting. It's
Yep.
very interesting. The other guy that I was very impressed is the Norwegian guy.
Oh, Holland? Yeah.
Yeah. He
He's
By
a
the
is.
way,
big guy. He's huge.
he's pro-Israel. That
Which
Holland,
one? Holland?
Holland, that guy Holland is pro. My wife showed me some kind of post or something. He's pro-Israel,
That's great because that
Okay.
country
even though
is
he's in Norway.
not our friend.
Right,
Yeah, the
Susie,
country's
you hear that
finished
this guy
already.
Holland is pro-Israel? The Norwegian, that
Norway.
Yeah.
yeah,
Messi also.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's
yeah.
good.
No, Messi is a solid.
When Omer Shem Tov was released after 550 days, this guy Holland called him. And
Wow.
yes, the guy with the ponytail. Yes.
Wow.
Then the other thing is today the Argentinian held out an Israeli flag and
Yes.
said, "With those that have the Israeli flag win." Like
Oh, I
they
didn't
were
see
telling to
that.
the Egyptians.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
wow.
big.
The
It was not a
Argentinians
small
have
flag.
The Argentinians have a pro-Israeli
Oh my
president.
God, interesting. I didn't see it. Wow.
You know what? The best thing
What
that
a great
happened
game
to us.
that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What a
but we are
game.
very lucky that because Milei got elected in Argentina, he has helped move more of those South American countries to be more pro-Israel, and that
Right.
is essential considering
Yes.
what's going on with Europe. Let's learn.
Yes.
We need to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of visiting the capitals of Europe, we're going to
We're
start
going to
visiting Buenos Aires, and we're going to go to Guatemala and Costa
did
Rica.
you, Ernie, I have to tell you one sad thing. You heard about Rabbi Spurka.
I did not hear Rabbi Spurka something.
Oh, I feel terrible. I didn't let you know.
Oh, what happened?
He was Nifter. And the Levaya was yesterday, and they were taking him to Eretz Israel. And Amos Dunst just texted me that Cooper gave one of the
Where
oh gosh, you're breaking up.
in America or in Israel?
The burial is in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, but where did Kuber give the
He was
hesped? In America?
in Israel.
Lakewood.
In Israel. I think he lives in Israel
See, I
now.
think Rabbi Spurka.
Or in
No, I think
Lakewood.
Rabbi Spurka lived in Lakewood. I was in
He
touch
did,
with
but
him
now they took him.
to bury him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in touch with him
Yeah.
a little bit, George, medically. He was in touch with me. He had some urology issues, and he was in touch with me. But in the last few years, I don't think he was well.
No. He was not well at all. I was also in touch with him medically, but my cousin, my cousin Tommy and him were very close. So
Do you
my
have-
cousin Tommy used to go there and visit him. And he came to Guatemala for my cousin
Do you have
Tommy's.
contact information?
I am going
No,
to
but
try
George,
to
could you send me?
I'm going to work on
Reach
it.
out
I'll
to
get all the
Amos
data.
and see if we can get like a contact info. If we can call, I remember Mrs. Spurka. She will remember me as one of his Talmidim. I'd like to call her, but
Absolutely.
I didn't get any notification from anybody.
Oh, I received it, and my cousin Tommy texted me. So I thought that in the community people would let you know. So I apologize. I really feel bad now because
No
I
problem.
sat in.
Just send me-
No. Because yesterday morning we had a Zoom.
Oh, I would have liked to have listened. I would
Yeah,
have listened
so I
to
was
this.
listening. You know who spoke yesterday at the Levaya was Benji Jacoby.
I would have loved. Is this taped?
I bet you that it is. We're looking for it because my cousin Tommy, unfortunately, couldn't get in on a lot of it. So I want to find a place where we can find a tape
George,
of it.
please see if you can get a tape of that.
We'll do.
Wow. That's an end of an era.
Yep.
He was mashpia many people, particularly our friends,
Unbelievable.
Benji, Amos Dunst, Marvin, Alan
Cooper.
Berkowitz, Kuber, all of that group. I'm in touch with Kuber because he, on the sefer that I wrote on urology, the Ptsuadaka, he wrote some ha'aros.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Kuber and I are in touch with each other. He wrote his own halachic book on the international dateline and halacha, 3 volumes. Kuber has a very important halachic work on the dateline and how it affects halacha. Our friend Mordechai Kuber.
I mean, look, he was. Yeah. I think he was the catalyst for a lot. So he deserves a lot of yichus. I mean, he's just.
Yes, Rabbi Spurka, absolutely.
I mean, the two guys are the guy that you always bring up, Rabbi Gruen. Yep,
yeah,
Gruen.
Rabbi Gruen.
And Rabbi Spurka.
Yeah, absolutely. In Los Angeles, absolutely. Harold, guys like Bobby Younger.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't just our class. He was mashpia, everyone around, Benny Adler, Erwin Lowy, all these guys who became frummer, more yeshivish. They were all under the influence of Rabbi Spurka. That's who it was. Okay. So we're starting a new Perek Revi, Sameches. Is a complicated concept. Behema amaksha leleit. You have a pregnant animal that's giving birth, and it's having difficulty during its labor. Now, what farmers used to do is they would shecht such an animal very quickly. Because if the animal should die, it's not worth anything. It's a nevela. So they would quickly shecht it. So the question is, what is the status of the fetus? The fetus is like a leg of the animal. It's not viewed as an independent, when it's inside the womb, it's not viewed as an independent bria. Therefore, the shechita of the mother allows you to eat the fetus without shechita. And technically, you could eat the shechita, you could eat the animal alive. You understand? If the animal is shechted and then you cut up open the animal and there's a fetus inside there, you could eat it. Now, there are rabbinic prohibitions that if it's alive, you have to shecht it, because we have Aver Menachai that technically you could eat it, but rabbinically it's not so partial. But let's say Hotzia Ubris Yodo Vech. Let's say during the labor, the fetus had extended one of its legs outside of the birth canal. So it was outside. And then it drew it back in. Mutter bachila. So the animal certainly is permitted. If you find the fetus alive after you shechted the animal, the mother, you can eat it without shechita. And if it's dead, you also can eat. It's not nevela. It's also, you're allowed to eat the meat. Now, we'll see, does that apply to the limb that had been removed and then brought back in? Is it viewed as if it was born? And maybe the shechita doesn't work on that piece of the leg? We'll see. See what the Gemara says. But the remaining fetus certainly is permitted. Now, Hotzias Rosho, if the fetus had put its head outside, then it's viewed as if it's born. Now, once a fetus is born, alive, outside, then the shechita of the mother doesn't have any impact on the new calf that was born. Of course, the new calf would require its own shechita. Afal pisha 0. Even though if this fetus had put its head out for a minute and then brought its head back in, hareze kialud, it's viewed as if it was born. And if you shech the mother and you find the fetus inside, you're not allowed to eat it without its own shechita. And if it's dead, it's nevela and you can't eat it, right? Because it's viewed as if it was born. Another halach. You reach in to the uterus of a pregnant cow and you cut off a piece of its limb while it's in there. And you leave it in. And then you shech the mother. Mutter bachila. So certainly the fetus, we've said all along, is permitted. The limb that's also detached from that fetus is also permitted. But minat chol u'minat kloyos, if you cut a piece of the kidney or the spleen and leave it, then it's osir bachila. That is viewed as aver minachai, as if it, just like if an animal is alive and you cut off its limb, you can't eat it. And therefore that's prohibited. Ze'aklal, dover shagufo osir. That which is part of the animal's body found inside is prohibited. V'sheina gufo mutter. We'll see what the Gemara means by this. The Gemara will explain what the Mishnah means by the ze'aklal. This limb that we talked about, that it stuck out and then brought back in, is osir if you shech the mother. The rest of the fetus is permitted, except for the limb that was stuck out. Don't eat a treif meat that you find in the field. Once the meat is outside of where it's supposed to be, and the limb is supposed to be inside, and now it's outside, just like, for example, by kodshim, if you take meat of kodshim, you take it outside of the azora, even though you bring it back into the azora, it's prohibited. The Gemara sees the same thing regarding this limb. Now, the Gemara asks, an animal that's having difficulty with delivery, and it stuck its limb out and brought it back in. Mutter bachila, my love aver. when it says it's permitted for consumption, isn't it also referring to the limb itself, which is a kasha on Rav? Lo a'uber. When the Mishnah says there's a permission to eat, it's referring to the rest of the fetus, but not to the limb. So uber, if that's what you mean, my iriach zero. Then what do you have to tell me that the animal returned the limb? Afidolog zero nami. Even if it had not returned the limb, the fetus would be permitted. So what's the chiddush you're telling me? So the Gemara does what zero. It would be exactly the same if the fetus's limb was still out there when you shechted the mother. But I did come point, Mr. Seifa, Hotzias Rosh Avabish Chazir Areza Kiyolu. In the end of the mission, we talked about the head being born. And we view the fetus as being born even when it brings its head back. Tarnam Areshech zero. Just to be stylistically symmetrical, the Reish also talks about the limb that is then withdrawn back. But it really has nothing to do, there's no significance other than that. So, say for my so what's the say of Chiddush? Kivan the Yotzer Rosh Avalei Leda? What do you tell me? This is the only place in Shas that we learn that a fetus that puts the head outside, that it's considered born. We've already learned that. Tanina. We know that a firstborn son inherits double compared to his brothers, and he also has to have pidyon haben. So in Bechoros, we're going to learn what is the type of a Bechor that will inherit but will not get pidyon haben. Haba achar nefilin. Let's say a woman had a miscarriage, and then the second child is born. So the second child that's born is the firstborn when it comes to inheritance. But he does not get pidyon haben. Even if its head, this Nathal, the child that's going to die, had put its head out and it was alive then, or a 9-month fetus that had its head out when it was dead, in either case, only the second son becomes the Bechor L'Nachla, but does not become the Bechor L'Pidyon Haben. Time of the Rosh Hashanah. He's considered a Bechor because when he put its head out, it was a dead head. Hi Rosh Chai, Haba Achra Bechor Nachla. Maybe if a Nathal, when it was alive, when it stuck its head out, maybe the second child will not be a Bechor for even inheritance. What do we see from here? We've already dealt with this issue of when the head comes out, it's viewed as if it was born. Maybe I need another repetition here in Chullin for animal because Ashme'inim ba'adam. That Mishnah taught us what the laws are about a human being. Kamash Malam b'behema. Now I have to be told what the din is by an animal. Why? The adam b'behema lo yoliv. I can't learn the ein prosdor lebehema. A behema does not have like a vaginal canal. The uterus is right there. When they give birth, it comes out from the inside to the outside in one shot. And a human being does. So when a human gives birth, you don't see the child. It's between the thighs for a while. It's concealed. So it's not as readily noticeable as in an animal. So maybe the child wouldn't be considered completely born until the whole body comes out, not just the head. So that's why you can't learn human from animal, and vice versa. You can't learn animal from human. The choshev parts of panim didei. Every human face is completely distinct, but that's not the case by an animal. And therefore, by an animal, you can't do it just by the head. Well, the Gemara says, Hanami Tanina. But we've already understood this. Shilya shiyatza miksasa. Let's say an animal gives birth to an amniotic sac. Asur and asur b'achilo. So when you check the mother, the sac has been born already, you can't eat the sac. Now, you can't have an amniotic sac unless there was a fetus there. Now, there's no fetus coming out, but if there's a sac, there would have to be a fetus. So clearly, the birth of a head, even in an animal, is considered like a birth. So if, when you say that when the animal brought its leg back, and then you shechted it, and it's to teach us that even so that leg can be eaten, then maybe Tana Seifa or to Resha. So the Tana taught the Seifa case about the head to show that it's different than the leg case. But as you told me before, that it's not coming to teach us that you can eat the leg. And therefore, there might not have been any purpose to teach the Seifa. You've already taught me the din that the birth of an animal's head is like the birth of the animal itself. So why repeat it? So the Gemara says, uber. The leg, we're not referring to the leg when we say there's a permission to eat it. When you shech the mother, you're only referring to the fetus. For example, let's say when the animal put its leg out, you cut off the leg there. Well, the din is the shechita will at least cover that part of where it was connected to the leg that was cut off. Same thing, it's for the point of connection to the limb. Even if you don't cut it off, it's viewed as if it's still, that part is still inside. Toshma. We're going to ask a kasha on Rav's statement that the limb that had been put outside temporarily is prohibited to eat, even if you bring it back in. Toshma. If the fetus had stuck its foot out, it's actually its foreleg, and brought it back, and then you shechted the mother, mutter bachila. And the Gemara is going to say, when it says mutter bachila, it means everything, not just the fetus, but the leg that was stuck out. However, if you shechted the mother, let's say you shechted the mother when the leg was outside, then asr bachila. Well, asr bachila can't be going on the fetus because the fetus that's on the inside is certainly permitted. So it's got to be that the limb is permitted. So if the Seifa is talking about the limb, the Reisha certainly should be talking about the limb. If the animal stuck out, the fetus stuck out, it's and you cut it off, and then that which is outside, you cannot eat. It's the nevela because it wasn't inside the mother when you shechted it. And it's tameh because of tumas nevela. V'shebifnim tor mutter. That which is inside, meaning the fetus, that which remains, is not tor. It's not tameh. Certainly, it's tor mutter to eat. Shachat esim of achar. If the leg was outside but you hadn't cut it, and you shechted the mother, and then after you shechted the mother, you cut the leg. Habasar maga nevela. The fetus and the mother are tameh because they're in contact with that limb. The severed limb has tumas nevela because it's, even though you hadn't detached it until after shechita, the shechita doesn't work for it. So it's like Avram and Achai. It's as if it was severed already. And since it's in contact with both the fetus and the mother, it's nevela. They were Meir. It's not tameh as nevela, but it's as if it's tameh as if it's connected to treifa, because that limb was still attached at the time when you shechted it, so it does not become nevela. It doesn't allow you to eat it. It spares it from tumas nevela, just like when you shecht an animal that's a treifa, it also doesn't have tumas nevel. Now, why did we bring this Mishnah? To ask a kasha on Rav. Rav was the one who said that when you shecht an animal who had protruded its limb, and then even though it brought the limb back, you can't eat the limb. It says if you shechted the mother, the fetus and everything about it is mutter. My lava it must be going on the limb as well, which is a kasha on Rav. So Rav will answer lo auber. It's only referring to the fetus. Auber, it can't be just the fetus. Aim is seifa. Shachad esim of achakach zero. You shechted the mother, and the limb was outside when you shechted it. And then after you shechted it, it drew the limb back. Osir bachil. Now what's osir bachil? Can't be uber. Am I osir? The uber is not going to be osir bachila. The fetus is kosher to eat because you shechted the mother. It's clearly going on the leg. So Rav will agree that the place that the limb was connected to the fetus, that is allowed to be eaten. But the limb itself cannot be eaten. More says, it's not so, Rav. Avimi came from Bechozoi, a place. He came with a baraisa. Parsa hechzir echol. If an animal had a hoof that was out and then it brought it back in, you can eat it. Prasois, if it had hooves, also hechzir echol. Now my love hechzir parsa echol parsa, that you can eat the hoof itself, which is the limb. Versus lo hechzir parsa echol uber. When it says echol, it means you can eat the fetus. Uber, my area hechzir. Why do you have to say that it returned it? Afilu lo hechzir nami, you could eat the fetus. Again, it's going on the place of attachment of the limb to the fetus. You need two psukim to teach me about the makom chatach. My love, chad lever v'chad l'makom chatach. Why don't you say one is to tell you that you can consume the limb itself, and one is to tell you that you can consume the place where it was cut? Lo, chad l'makom chatach. One of them, enochanami, is the place that it was connected. V'chad l'kolut b'mei para. Different halacha. That if we are only supposed to eat animals that have a split hoof, but let's say a kosher animal like a cow has a mutation, fetus, inside where that fetus has one hoof, where the split hoofs are joined. I'll leave it to Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon kolut ben para osir. That if you have a fetus with hoofs that are connected, is prohibited to eat. Only if it was born. But even Rab Shimon permits you to eat it when it's in the womb. And that's what we need the two psukim for. Okay. So Rav, with his opinion that the limb is prohibited, is not knocked out of the box. However, a later Amoira, Ulo Am Rav Yechon, the Aver Atzma Mutter, he brought the halacha that the limb is permitted. How are you arguing with Rav and Shmuel? He has so much covet for Rav and Shmuel that he wants to put the dust from their graves into his eyes. So Elohachi Amar Rav Yochanan. Hakol hayu bichlal basar basder trefalosachem. This pasuk would on the surface seem to suggest that the limb that went out of its place, out of its normal boundary, should be prohibited. But kishaport l'cha kosuv gabi chatas, shiyatza chutz l'mchitzas of a chazra. Let's say you shechted a korban chatas in the Beis Hamikdash, and you brought it outside of the Azora. Even though you brought it back inside, it's usher. It's only chatas who depart Rachmana Bey. It's only a korban chatas that the Torah was very specific and prohibited that. Aval kol mili, but by all other cases, including our case, where the limb was outside and was brought back in, kivin dehoder shori. Once it's back into its normal place, like in the womb, it's permitted with the shechit of the mother. Okay, but we're going to ask a kasha on Ula. Meisvei. Basar basadeh trefa lo sochel. Ma tamud lemer, what is this teaching us? Lefisha matzim v'maiser sheni bikurim. Maiser sheni is produce that you grew in Tel Aviv, and you have to bring it, the second tithe, to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Or bikurim, you have to bring the first fruits to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Now, what if you take it out of the walls of Yerushalayim? You can't eat it. But what if you bring it back in? You're allowed to eat it, even though they were outside. So I might think that the limb that a fetus stuck out, even though he brought it back in, maybe there we would say it's the same din, and it's permitted with the mother's shechit. The Talmud Lomer treifa. So what is that? My Talmud. What does that show? On the Rabbah, kid treifa. Ma treifa kivit shinter for shuvein laheter. Once an animal is a treifa, that's it. There's no, you don't go against the second law of thermodynamics. Once you're headed in one direction, that's it. Once it's a treifa, it's forever a treifa. Av basar kivin shiatza chutzum chitzas or shuv ein lo heter. Once it's out of its boundary, the limb leaves the womb, it has no more permission. Tiyufta deula and tiyufta. So it seems like we paskin like Rav. Period. Amar Mar. We quote that if you take it out and bring it back into its mechitza, you can eat it. Heichel metzina. Where do you see this? D'chsiv. Lo sucha lechol bisharecha masar degancha. You cannot eat in your cities, in your gates. Bisharecha deloy achol. Aval yatzu chutzum chitzasim v'chazru. But if they left their limits, but they were brought back in, mutarin. Now, b'marava masnu hachi. In Eretz Yisrael, they learn like this. Rava yesh leida levorim. When a limb is taken out, is pushed outside the womb, it's considered as if it's born. Rav Yechamer ein leida levorim. Limbs are not viewed as born. Either the whole animal is born or nothing. Rav holds that since the limb was outside when you shechted the mother, or even it came back, it's considered like a born piece, just like a born animal. When you shech the mother, you can't eat the born animal. So too the limb. Rav Yochanan says once it's brought back in, it's not considered born, and you can eat it if you shech the mother. My binayu. It could be nayu. L'meiser miut ever shebifnim. Let's say the 80% of the limb was thrust outside, and there's a minority of that limb that was inside. It never left. So according to this concept of births for limbs, once even the majority of the limb left, even the minority part that remains inside would also be prohibited. Iboiluhu. According to Rav Yochanan, who says that we don't view limbs as being born. If the fetus stuck its leg out and brought it back, and then it took its other leg and put it out and back, and then all four limbs came out Ad sheshlima lerubo. And if you add it all up, it's considered like the majority of the body. Mahu. Me, I mean, high nafak leruba. We say that the fetus came out the majority, and it's viewed as if it was born. Or dilma kiven to hadar. Or do we say since it's now back in the womb, it's not born? And im tim slona kiven to hadar. If you're going to want to tell me that if it's back in the womb, it's not viewed as born. What about hotzi ubers yoda v'chatcha? The fetus stuck its leg out, you cut it off. V'chazer v'hotzi yoda v'chatcha. Then it cut another leg and cut it off. Ad sheshlim l'rubo, and then it cut off the legs off until you cut the majority of the body. Mao. High nafik leruba. The fetus has come out, and it's the majority. Or by birth, we need the majority of the fetus to come out at one time. So we're going to resolve these kashas tomorrow.
Shkoyach.
And we will start Tzurba in 8 minutes, 8 o'clock.
Let me ask you tomorrow, what time are we learning? Because the rabbi has a shiur tomorrow night.
What time is his shiur?
8 o'clock.
Okay. I propose we learn at 7 o'clock tomorrow.
7 o'clock. Why? You won't finish the daf so quickly? You don't think so?
Well, you see, today it took...
Yeah, but we were babbling for 10 minutes before. We had a dibuach on Rav Sperling. So.
I think anyway, Mincha is 6:25. I think we'll make it home.
You only come home at 6:45. Come home 7:45 and go to eat. Okay, let's try to whatever time.
Okay, let's try 7:15 tomorrow's fine.
Okay.
Mario, we can do it 7:15.
Mario's not around.
Mario is not on?
No.
Okay, I'll send 7:15 tomorrow.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Harold.
No soccer tonight?
We're done with that.
Yeah, I
Todd,
watched matches today. It was like I didn't want to do it. I got stuck. I don't know what happened. Interesting. Are you a fan?
not really.
Yeah, either am I. It's eh. Uh, Ernie, were you rooting for Egypt?
Me?
No,
What?
Ernie,
What do
Ernie,
you
you
mean?
root for Egypt.
Why would why would I be rooting for Egypt,
Because we used to live there.
Harold?
Our our people used to live in Egypt. Remember? They had these King Tut hats they were wearing. It was very cute. We're at 306, 307.
No, we're in volume 21.
Yes. What page?
We started volume 21.
I
We
wrong.
started
Sorry.
laundering.
47, right?
No, no,
No? God, I'm lost
no,
here.
we're on 75, volume 21.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I think we may have gone a little further. One
I think
second.
we gone a bit more.
Let's I think we're in the Shulchan Aruch on page 77. We could go from the top. Although the Ria Rabbeinu Tam both assert that soaking is considered laundering only when the soaking achieves some cleaning, it would seem that they would disagree concerning the following. If the fabric is not dirty at all, we would permit immersing it in clean water. But Rabbeinu Tam would forbid this. When the garment is dirty, we would forbid soaking it even in liquid, which is not truly clean, but Rabbeinu Tam would permit this. Nonetheless, the Bir Halacha writes that the Ri might agree that it is permitted to wet even a dirty fabric with liquid that is not clean. Aval k'sheish alav lichluch, when a garment has dirt, afilu derech lichluch, kigon l'nagev yadayim sham aser. For example, you're gonna, let's say, dry your hands off there in order to sort of accomplish drying off your hands and cleaning the dirt. That would be prohibited l'dezu, given sheish alav lichluch mikvar, because it was already dirty. Kach cause of prima godim. V'chein mashma bolas atomi. We call makon on the daiti. The Chavetz Chaim says, in his humble opinion, lo brira adover kol kach. It's not that clear. The yesh lomar the derech lichluch kol amishari. To put wetness on a garment, if it causes it to become dirty, that would be permitted. The Shulchan Aruch does not explicitly take a stand concerning this dispute, but he writes that it is forbidden to wet a garment which has dirt upon it.
I'm sorry, what page you on?
77,
Oh, 77. Or
volume
97.
21. Like, think about you have a white stain on your pants, and you want to put some water on it to clean it off. So Shulchan Aruch says, "Beged sheish alav lichluch asur afilu l'shachshacho." You can't dip it in water. Dezeu kibuso. That is laundering it. The Magen Avraham understands that the Shulchan Aruch rules in accordance with the opinion of the Ri, because he specifies that one may not wet a garment which has dirt upon it. By implication, if the garment is clean, it's permitted to wet the garment. Elsewhere, the Shulchan Aruch indicates that the halacha follows the position that the prohibition of laundering extends even to applying water to any garment on Shabbos, regardless of whether the garment is clean or not. On the basis of that ruling, the Tosfos Shabbos and the Gra argue that the Shulchan Aruch does not accept the position of the Ri, and thus one may not apply water even to a clean garment. The Ramah cites both the position of the Ri and the Rabbeinu Tam regarding wetting a clean garment with water. Beged she'ein alav lichluch, a clean garment. Mutar latetel of maim muatim. You could put small amount of water. V'yesh oisrim cholingin, but some prohibit. Ultimately, because the issue involves a malacha deraisa, the bir halacha rules stringently in accordance with Rabbeinu Tam, so that one may not apply water even to a clean garment. V'nei ladina, the bir halacha says the final word. Ein bir agrosha kosov da'nochan kedei rishona meinu miskavin lekvisa. That it's permitted to wet clean fabrics as long as your intent was not to launder it. Uvele Rabba Mashmagam Kain Shadas Rav Rishon Kadei Rishona. The Eliyah Rabba, another Achron, agrees. Mikol Makom, Kivin Sheish Kama Rishonim Shemachmirim B'zeh. He points out that there are Achronim who are Machmir. There are Rishonim who are Machmir. V'cheinu Das Hatur B'simin Shimid Yud Tes L'simin Shamech Lavdal. We should be machmir v'chein mashmir v'eliyahu zuta v'orach. The notwithstanding, this bir halacha elsewhere acknowledges that when there's a need, it is acceptable to act leniency. This comment comes in the context of a discussion concerning how to respond when water has spilled onto a tablecloth. The bir halacha writes that when there's a need, a person should be permitted to lightly drag the liquid of the tablecloth with a knife, even though a portion of the tablecloth which had not yet become wet, so as to allow the liquid to drip off from the edge of the tablecloth. In this case, the person need not be concerned that getting the cloth wet is considered laundering. If you drag this water lightly, the das rov aposkim the beged shein lo lochloch lo amin shriyasu kibuso, with a clean garment, we don't use this concept of soaking as its laundering. The gam shein is kavod l'chabis, and you're not having kavana to launderer. Similarly, according to Yalkut Yosef, the letter of the law accords with the lenient view, but it is worthy to be stringent and to refrain from soaking any garment in water. Soaking the garment is its laundry. That's if it's dirty. Then for sure it's prohibited. The question always comes in if it's clean. So Meikar Adin Mutter L'Shrosu B'Shabbos B'Mayim Muatim. You can soak a clean garment, Meikar Adin. It's only the Bir Halacha said we have to be machmir because of the Das Rishonim. The law, I mean, we don't say the principle Zeh Shriyasu Zeh Kiboso. V'machmir Shlo Lishros B'Mayim Afilu Muatim Gabeged Naki Tavalov Bracha. He blesses the person who's machmir. The Mishnah writes that even according to those who forbid this, if it's done in a manner that makes the garment dirty by applying liquid which is not clean, it's permitted. Accordingly, when someone dries hands with a towel on Shabbos, wetting the towel does not constitute an act of laundering. Soaking is not considered laundering unless it's dirty. Because they're following the Rishonim that said that it works even on a clean garment, that soaking is considered laundering. L'chein, afilu b'muatin, even with little amount of liquid, asur mishum kibus, b'kol makom, im nesiyas mayin al habegedu derech lichluch shari. If you are drying your dirty hands on this towel, so that's derech lichluch, and that's not going to be prohibited. The Shulchan Aruch and Rama also discuss whether one may allow dirty liquid to come into contact with a clean fabric or garment. The Shulchan Aruch suggests that ideally it is best to follow the especially stringent opinion of the Uraim, according to which even this is forbidden. However, the Ramon notes that this opinion is not accepted at all, and you don't have to comply with it. Aruch etz yodet tov l'nagvan b'koach zu b'zu u'lasir me'em hamayim k'fi yechalto kodem shikanchem b'mapeh. If you wash your hands, you should dry them against the other hand and remove as much water from them before you dry them on a cloth. But we don't have to worry about that. The law on Rina and Shriya's beged zer kibuso b'chi hai gavna. And that's why you see all of us drying our hands on a towel after we do Natilas Yadayim on Shabbos. It's not a problem. So the Ramah writes that one need not be concerned with the stringent opinion of the Uraim. Shulchan Aruch Harav writes that if no loss whatsoever is involved, one should ideally try to comply with the Shulchan Aruch. Accordingly, the Aruch HaShulchan and the Piskei Tshuva write that based on this discussion, when washing one's hand or face, washing a child, or washing dishes, one should try to avoid wetting one's clothing. While it's not forbidden, since the garment is clean and you don't have an intent to clean it, avoiding wetting is advised as an added precaution. When you are washing your face or your hands and you're going to use a towel, or you're going to wash dishes, you should make sure that your sleeves don't get wet. Or on the towel. Nevertheless, as mentioned, Allah is that there's no prohibition whatsoever to wet one's clothes while you're in the midst of these activities. This suggestion given here is in the realm of an additional stringently. It's not an obligation even for Sephardim. So, up until now, we've been dealing with textile, cloth. What about soaking and laundering leather, plastic, and synthetic items? So far, we have discussed the prohibition of soaking fabrics in water on Shabbos, as the water penetrates the material and brings about some amount of cleaning, even without active scrubbing or laundering. You're not using soap. You're not doing this with your hands, scrubbing your baguette together. That for sure is prohibited. All of the stringencies we've been talking about is just wetting it, because of this concept shriyoso zeu kibuso. Do we say that only by dirty garments, which l'chora we hold like that? The machlokas is by clean garments, and that's why you have machmir, and leniently you could be lenient about the clean. What is the halacha though concerning leather? Because it doesn't really absorb. There's prohibition of soaking applying to leather as well, or what might we argue that since leather does not significantly absorb water, soaking alone is not considered clean. According to the Mishnah Masechta Shabbos, the ban on soaking fabrics does not apply to leather. Mo shalakar. We talked about if you have money on a pillow. We said minar sakar ve noifos. You shake the pillow and the money falls off on its own. Haisa lav lashlashes. If there was dirt on it, mekancha bismartut. You sort of wipe it with a rag, but not with water, because of the problem of kibus. What if the pillow was leather? Haisa shel or. You can use water until it goes away. Rashi writes that merely applying water to leather is not forbidden. Certain acts of more invasive cleaning would be forbidden. Lashlesh is all karshal or, if you have some dirt on a leather pillow, the lav bar kibusu, which we don't launder, you can add water to it until the dirt goes away. Miyu kibus mamish lo. But you can't actually launder it. Pillows, cushions are soft.
It's
Yes.
very strange. I mean, the laundering is because the water is going to clean it, or the laundering is because you're going to clean it. You're going to clean it. You put the water on the leather, you're going to clean it.
He's saying the word laundry here means you scrape it. Remember, laundry, when you take water and you do this, that's usur. In the previous halacha that we learned about just applying water alone, that's the concept of soaking will clean it as well. So you're not allowed to take a dirty garment and soak it in water. The shaila is by a clean baguette made out of cloth.
Yeah,
so we were more make.
No, I know.
Now, by a leather, there's no kibus by leather. So if you apply water and that cleans it, that's permitted. But Rashi is saying
you wouldn't be allowed
you can't actually launder it, like scrape it. like scrape it. That's what he's referring to as laundering it. Water you're allowed to apply to it. So what does he mean? But you can't launder it. So just like we know shich is laundering. Adding soap would certainly be an act of laundering. So that you can't do, Rashi says. He's warning us. Yes, the Gemara is saying you can add water to it, but there's a limit to what you can do to get rid of the filth. He says, that these pillows are soft. There is a concept of laundering by soft leather. Just adding water, soaking it in water, that's not enough. But if you did scraping or whatever, that you wouldn't be allowed to do. In explaining the difference between leather and other materials, the Achronim write that as mentioned above, leather does not absorb water easily. Only through rubbing that the water permeates through the leather and extracts the dirt. So you couldn't rub it. So in accordance with Rashi's comments, Shulchan writes that although one may wet a shoe, presumably made of leather, it's forbidden to scrub it. Sort of to rinse it. Avalachapso, the Hainu, he explains, what does it mean laundry? You scrub it, let's say one shoe against the other. That's forbidden. Rav Elyashiv, another contemporary poskim rule, that it's also forbidden to soak leather in cleaning agents, since this too cleans leather like scrubbing it. Shrias or benoizel amiyud lenikui. Let's say you have some cleansing liquid. Kagon l'shros b'mayim im akanomika. That's probably like Ajax in Israel. Das Rav Elyashiv in Orchos Shabbos shadina kikibush alu pisheina or miskane al yidei shiri b'mayim. Even though leather doesn't undergo laundering just through soaking, mikol mokom miskane al yidei shriyosu b'chomer nikui. Laundry is applicable to it if you use, for example, a cleansing agent. The Orchos Shabbos discusses the permissibility of soaking items made of leather and other materials, as well as the status of other non-absorbent materials such as plastic or nylon. Di'im ha'orot tfurim b'chutim. You have leather sewn with threads. Asr l'shroisim, you can't soak them. Or you can't soak in water your shoes if they've been sewn with thread. If your shoes have some fabric on it, you can't soak them in water. You also cannot apply to leather water that has cleaning agents in it. However, mutter lishros yirios plastic v'nylon b'mayim. Sheets of plastic or nylon can be soaked in water. Vein b'zeh isur shriya. Mishum she'enam boilim, they don't absorb samayim. Omnam ein l'shavshev, you can't rub it as a plastic b'yada b'mayim with your hands. That's mishum isur kibus. V'miyuras a plastic tfurs b'chutin. If these nylon sheets are sewn with thread, asur lishrosim, that you can't soak them in water either. While the Orchos Shabbos rules stringently regarding scrubbing sheets of plastic, Rav Ben Sion Abba Shol rules it's permitted. In his view, since these materials do not absorb water, they are not bichlal subject to the prohibition of laundering. Nylon lo shach bo klal kibus. There's no laundry when it comes to nylon. Kivin sheina bolekla, it's not absorbed, it doesn't absorb anything. Vaveki kli eitz. It's like wood. Shein bem kibus. There's no din of kibus by wood. Mutter gam l'shafshir, you can scrub it. Kamo koises asumi plastic cups. Shavane mutter l'rochtam l'shotvam b'Shabbos. You can rinse them out and scrub them on Shabbos. Rav Moshe Feinstein and other poskim disagree. Rule that it's forbidden to forcefully scrub plastic tablecloths, but it's permitted to soak them and rub them lightly. Uvidover hamapois shel plastic maps, mapois, mikol malkum kevin shel shach limtso Din ze mefurish tehu min chadash. This is a new species, he says. Shadors of an The previous generation never saw this. Min haroy lachmir. We should be stringent. Shalol shav shouldn't use our hands. Bechozek. Shu kein shif shut tzito zelzeh. V'raklanokos they mind bekalus. You just clean it lightly with water alone. Yesh lakel kulam. Earlier we saw that Rabbi Rishon likens washing plastic to washing wood. As also mentioned in the Pnei Halacha by Rabbi Lamed, wooden furniture is not subject to the restrictions of laundering. Wood that doesn't absorb dirt, you can rinse it with water. That's not, there's no isser of kibus. What about soaking and laundering other synthetic items, such as tablecloths and tights? While they agree that one may not scrub these material when wet, some, including the Shmir Shabbos, permit soaking synthetic garments, arguing that these garments do not absorb. Beged shasui chomer tahor shel sibim syntetiyim, synthetic fibers. Lulot taruvis sivim tvim, without natural fibers. Ugam eno tofur bechut asui sivim tivim, and there's no thread that is used to, sew them. You can soak them. If you want to use it that day. But you can't scrub it one against each other if it's wet. And the Yalkut Yosef agrees with this v'chein sadin sheet, asui min nylon or chomer synthetic, another synthetic baguette. Mutter l'sharois b'mayim b'Shabbos. You can soak them, or to stream water on them. You need it. You shouldn't scrub it with your hand or with a rag. But the Orcha Shabbos forbids soaking a synthetic garment. If there's synthetic threads near shriya, he says that there is prohibition. In a footnote, he explains that woven synthetic materials absorb water, much like natural fabrics. Therefore, they are subject to the standard principle that soaking is considered laundering, as it effectively cleans the material. Says the Orcha Shabbos, the weaving is tight. There is probably absorption of the dirt, but shriya benakoso. However, according to all opinions, it is permitted to wash dishes while wearing rubber gloves. The reason for this is that the person is not intending to launder the gloves. And even if the gloves is scrubbed while washing the dishes, the action cannot be viewed as laundering. Thus, while the Orcha Shabbos maintains his stringent ruling that a person may not purposely wash the gloves themselves, in his view, it is permitted to wash something else using the gloves. Kfafot gumi, shitlachlu, also l'rochzon, l'shafshav b'mayim. Rubber gloves, you cannot, they became dirty. You can't wash them. You can use them when you're washing dishes, and if they get cleaned on their own, they'll be okay. My grandson Zachariah is here, just flew in from. Nice. Okay. What about contact lenses? An important contemporary application of the rules of soaking and laundering synthetic items pertains to the use of contact lenses, which are soaked in a saline or cleaning solution. May a contact lens wearer place the contact lenses in their case with solution on Shabbos, or might soaking them in these solutions can be considered prohibited soaking? Although hard contact lenses are assumed to be permitted, remember, hard contact lenses like glass. So you're allowed to wash kalim. It's not a beged. Kibus is through bugadim, right? Some achronim rule that soft contact lenses are subject to the ban on laundering. Thus, while saline solution, which is water and salt, would be permitted, these poskim would forbid soaking the lens in their cleaning solution on Shabbos. And this is made by the Orcha Shabbos. Rav Elyashiv, Rav Vosner, Rav Karelitz are machmir like this opinion. Adashot maga kashot hard contact lenses, mutar l'shrosen benozel amiyuchad lehem, can be stored and soaked in their standard cleansing fluid. You can rub them a little bit as well. However, adashot magat rachot, soft contact lens, you may not soak them in their cleansing fluid because of laundry. Tama yisur lishros adashot rakot benozel nikui umishum shenozel miyuad lenikui adasha mechomer nechnosim betocho umachirin oso. The liquid used to clean this have substances that permeate and cloud it. Even if you're going to compare them to leather, we already established that you can't use cleansing agents for leather. He says the only heter is with water. However, according to the Pnei Halacha and Rav J. David Blythe, in contemporary halachic problems, it is permitted to soak soft contacts on Shabbos cleaning solution because they're considered non-absorbent. Rav Shlomo Zalman took this position as well when asked, as reported by Rav Neuwirth in Shmir Shabbos. Rav Blythe notes that Rav Yitzchak Rubin, author of the Orchos Shabbos, writes elsewhere that the scientific facts with which Rav Shlomo Zalman was provided may not be precise, but Rav Blythe argues that Rav Shlomo Zalman's analysis may in fact be entirely scientifically accurate. Says the Pnei Halacha, mutar lenakos adashos magos kashos v'rakos. You can clean soft contact lens. Shedinam kal midin mapas nylon. They're more lenient than nylon mats. Shemutar l'shavshan v'rakos. You can only lightly scrub those. Shebenusaf l'kach shadashos einan bolos. The soft contact lenses don't absorb. Gam einan nechshavot kebeger. It's not like a beged. He says scrubbing them is not laundry. There's other details in a supplementary volume of Pnei Halacha. There are multiple reasons are presented for leniency concerning contact lenses, including that they do not absorb dirt like garments and are considered implements rather than garments, which are not subject to the prohibition. Therefore, cleaning them with cleansing agent poses no problem. He says there's no absorption by soft contact lens. When we look at a soft contact lens, there's no absorption. We don't have to treat it on something that we can't identify. The primary function of the cleansing is to disinfect, not really to clean dirt. Contact lenses are not viewed as a garment, but as a kli. There's no prohibition of cleaning kelim, even if they absorb. There is no material that doesn't absorb something. Page 87. Rabbinic prohibitions to prevent ringing. Thus far, we have discussed the biblical prohibition of soaking, which constitutes part of the laundering process. Chazal imposed a rabbinical prohibition forbidding wetting fabrics, even when the biblical prohibition does not apply, due to the concern that a person might wring out the wet garment. This is described in the Gemara, Masechta Shabbos, wherein the Gemara writes that a person is normally expected to walk only in a relaxed manner on Shabbos. Nonetheless, the Gemara writes that one would be permitted to take a large step so as to avoid entering water and getting one's clothing wet. You're walking on Shabbos and there's a puddle of water. If you can place your first foot on the other side of the puddle before raising the second one, mutter, but v'imlav osir. But if you can't do that, you can't jump across it. It's a violation of Shabbos. What should you do? Likif kamafaf. Should he cross to the other side? Kamafaf be luchay. He's adding to his walking. Liavor. If he walks through the water, zimni de misfav mani mai. His clothes will get wet. He'll come to bring the water out. He can jump over the stream. So it clearly indicates that midrabanan, at least rabbinically, one may not soak one's clothes by entering a stream of body water due to the concern that you'll bring out the clothes. As the Rambam explains, schita from a fabric constitutes a tolada of blanching, since this concludes the cleaning process. In contrast to the Rambam, Tosfos maintains that bringing out fabrics may also constitute a tolda of the malach of dash. Schita, within the context of dash, when we talk about squeezing fruits, was explored at length in Tzurba 18. Says the Rambam, squeezing is a tolda of laundry. If you squeeze a garment until water comes out, you're chayiv. Shchaschita is mitzorche kibuz. Wringing out a wet garment is part of the laundry process. Just like when you stir a pot of food, that is part of bishul. So in accordance with the scenario mentioned in the Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch rules that it's forbidden to traipse through water with one's clothing due to concern for wringing. You can jump over it. You shouldn't walk through it because you might come to wring it out. Earlier, we studied two passages in which the Gemara does permit a person to enter into a body of water with clothing. In the first, we saw that a person may pass through a body of water while clothed on the way to greet his teacher on Yom Kippur. In the same way, if a woman must immerse for personal ritual purity on Shabbos, but she does not have ritually pure clothing to wear, she may immerse herself clothes so that the clothing is also immersed. We also saw Rishonim explain that these cases are not subject to the principle that soaking is laundering so long as the clothing is clean, or wetting the clothing makes the clothing dirtier. But should there not also be a rabbinic prohibition to soak the clothes due to the concern that the person will wring them out? According to Tosfos, Chazal waived this rabbinic prohibition because the person is soaking his clothing while performing a mitzvah of greeting his Rebbe or going to the mikvah. If you're going to visit your Rebbe, or Pnei Aviv or your father, or Pnei Mishagadol or somebody greater than you in Torah, Oivrat Savar, you can walk up to your neck in water. Ve'ena choshesh. Varmanami beperk beis debeitza gabi tfilas kelim. B'Shabbos denida shein la begodim maremetz v'tavels b'gadea. If she doesn't have the proper clothing, she can go in even with her clothing. V'lo gazrin and demasa deschita yeshlomer de mitzvah shayni. However, we still must understand, how does the rabbinic prohibition against soaking fits with this approach of the re in non-mitzvah cases? The re permitted wetting clean fabric, which is not subject to laundering. But shouldn't the re agree that soaking or wetting would violate a rabbinic prohibition? The answer is The concern for rimming does not apply when one wets the clean fabric with a small quantity of water. But regarding a large quantity, there is concern that the person will wring the fabric, and soaking is prohibited even if the garment is clean. Accordingly, it's forbidden to allow fabrics to absorb a large quantity of moisture on Shabbos in the course of normal non-mitzvah activities, including cleaning, due to the concern that one may wring out the fabrics. And that's how the Ramah adopts the position of the Re. Beged she'en alav lichlo, a garment that's clean. Mutar l'teit alav mayim muatim v'lo merubim, shema yischo. The Mishnah Berurah notes that the same rule applies to Rabbeinu Tam. Thus, it's prohibited to wet fabric with a large quantity of liquid, even if it causes the fabric to become dirty, due to concern for wringing. And we'll deal with this more in the next section. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we get into a whole new area, wiping. Everybody have a very good Shabbos.
But
We did the daf too soon to the Tzurba shir. So my throat is bothered by this. So
Okay,
we need a break between the two.
I agree.